This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, be a part of the community, and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by Hopsterette.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Peterball family farm, Hopsterette.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsterette.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsterette.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsterette.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Is it ever a bad idea to make a yeast starter, making cold brew coffee in an all-in-one, and getting the most out of liquid yeast? This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 379. Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you, my friend, have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or even better, you could call it in, leave a voicemail to 325-305-6107. And if I use your voicemail feedback, or preferably voicemail question, on a future episode, you get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Steuben, joined as always by the Director of Operations at CM Becker. There he is on the stream, Mr. James Carlson right there, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com. He's beneath me. It's Mr. Todd Burns. I don't actually know what's more insulting. Oh, first off, hi guys. Is it more insulting to say below me or he's beneath me? As that was coming out of my mouth, I thought, that's really rude. You're not beneath me, boss. You are not beneath me. Oh,
no, I'm not. I can see right now that you're below me. So.
There we go.
Screen.
There we go. You got the spirit of the show. Thank y'all so much for joining me. Are you working on your lighting? What are you doing down there?
Yeah, it's bothering me.
Oh, well, you had lighting and now you don't. You didn't like it. You look fine.
I changed the color on accident. It's just.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes that's the right one there, but then it puts a donut on me.
In your glasses, yeah. But you need those because you're reading the questions.
I'm having a little trouble with my hair too. I'm gonna have to get a haircut before the show.
I'm having trouble with my hair too. It happens.
I know, it's just there's so much hair. It's full. I gotta get rid of some of it. I mean, look at that. Yeah, it's just everywhere.
My wife groomed my back hair, and the first thing when we got in the pool, when I was at your house last week, your wife was like, did did you shave your back hair? And I was like, oh, thank you for noticing the length of my back
your
hair.
wife's a saint.
But yeah, I know it's gross. But the reason I even bring it up is because I was giving your wife a hard time. Oh, why you noticing? She goes, well, that one time that we swam at your cousin's pool, your hair was waving in the water.
It was like swimming independently of the rest of your body.
It was like seaweed. If I just would have sank a little lower and just been prone, you would have thought, what are they growing seaweed in this pool for? Yeah, I know what I looked like.
I remember.
Yeah, so did your wife. She remembered. Everybody who was there remembered. Anyways, I do have a little bit of small talk before we get into a jam-packed show. First and foremost, let's say a big congratulations to our Kolsch Cup 2024 top 3, our grand champion, Jonathan Marut. Yes, that same Jonathan Marut, friends at home. The Marut Minute. He took it down. Second place by not too far off, our buddy Mark Ronnie. And third place by really close to second place was Robert Abbott. I'm jumping screens. There we go. Now we have it. I don't want to speak for y'all, but I feel confident in saying that y'all would agree we had incredible entries for this year's Kolsch Cup. It was, we were very fortunate to do what we do and have that kind of beer in our lap. I loved it. I had a blast. Todd, I forgot to, no. Y'all both got your shirts, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wore it yesterday to work.
Okay, because I loaded up the box I'm organizing the scorecard with the shirt and I'm putting them in. I have Ziploc bags and I go, oh crap, I don't remember if I gave those guys. Someone left a shirt on a table. I don't know if that was Wes. I hope he knows that was for him to take. I hope he does, because he did take Kolsch glasses. Todd gave him a couple, so I hope that wasn't his shirt. Maybe it was just when he was going through the sizes, or anybody was going through the sizes. That's why it was on the table. But either way, I have the box of shirts. They're coming back with me when I come up. I'm just trying to get. I would love to get all of y'all's scorecards and shirts out as soon as possible, but we do have a lot going on. Craft Brewers Conference is next week. We'll be there. I don't have booth numbers because I don't do my homework, but the FOTS booth has been very courteous in having us there. And the Hubertus beer booth will be hanging out there as well, talking all about CM Becker products and all that fun stuff in beautiful, fabulous Las Vegas. I haven't been to Vegas as an adult, and my wife is afraid I'm going to lose our life savings on the roulette table. But Todd assured me that you're good at roulette.
Oh, yeah. I'm very good. Don't worry. You just do what I do, and you'll come back a rich man.
I can't wait. I'm going to start playing the lottery, too, I think. I don't know. We're going to figure out. But anyways, congratulations to those guys. If you missed out on the action of Kolsch Cup, you can go watch it all. I don't know why you would, but you could go watch day 1 and day 2 at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. A huge thanks to our sponsors that make all of this possible. Hops Direct, Muntins Malt, and of course our friends at Imperial Yeast, which is going to segue me to the Trub Club recipe of the month. It's not too late to sign up at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Join a recipe receiving tier and get this delicious English brown ale shipped to your doorstep at the end of the month. You already heard me thank our sponsors, but I will do it again because these kits have the most premium ingredients thanks to Muntins Malt, hopsdirect.com, and Imperial Yeast. I am so proud every month of the kits we ship out, and that's mostly due to the ingredients we're able to send to y'all's doorstep. So get the English brown ale. It's a good kit. My pop and I are brewing it this Friday, which the last piece of small talk on the screen. Hey, the one time I got the screen stuff right. Brew Day Live. It is time for the monthly Brew Day Live. My pop and I will be brewing that English brown ale Friday, April 19th at 10 a.m. Central. Come join the fun at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. We'll be taking questions. And by that, I mean, we'll just see whoever's in the chat and hanging out with you guys. We enjoy it. This will be the 4th batch my dad and I do this year because we've committed to doing a batch a month for the whole year, brewing what the Trub Club is brewing. Todd, have you had a chance to have that pale ale yet? I don't know if you poured it.
It's I tried it last night, but I forgot it wasn't carbonated.
Oh, no, I told you that when I put it in there.
You told me that. That's why I said
you forgot. Oh, no. Yeah. So was it really bad? It was just really flat?
Well, I poured a little. I was like, oh, that's not carbonated. So I put carbonation on it.
Okay.
But I haven't forced carbonated.
I'm happy with how it turned out. It's super smooth.
It tasted great. It needs carbonation now.
It tastes great. Go ahead.
So Fox booth, because we would love for anybody that's going to be at the Craft Brewers Conference to come by. The Fox booth is 2418. And the Hubertus?
Yes, Hubertus. Yes.
He always corrects me. The Hubertus booth is 124.
Okay, 124. What was the first one? What is FOTS?
2418.
Okay.
So,
and FOTS has a considerably larger booth than Hubertus.
Oh yeah. It's well, and it's they're pretty far away from each other, but
yeah.
We'll figure that out. That's all right.
And remind me, because I've been telling people it's at the convention center. It's not. It's at the Venetian Expo, or I think they call it the Sands Expo.
I didn't realize that. Really?
Yeah. I've been telling people, and it was actually a craft brewer who corrected me on Instagram. They go, "Hey, it's not at the convention center. It's at the Venetian or the Sands."
So y'all all come see us at the convention center. Don't forget.
Don't you forget. Yeah. Anyway, and we would love to see you there. We appreciate anyone hanging out, and we have nothing really planned, so besides to be at the booths all day. And I've been told, Todd told me that he told Cody, because that's the booth I'll be in the most, to take all the chairs out. I don't understand your war against sitting down on a trade show floor. Some of us don't.
You're supposed to be engaging with people at a trade show.
He told them to take the chairs out, man. You think they wouldn't tell me? Did you think they wouldn't tell me?
Oh, yeah. No chairs. No chairs. I don't do chairs.
I know you don't do chairs. Anyways, I do think that's all the small talk. Again, if you want to keep up with recipes that we're sending out or anything that we're doing for Brew Day Live or all that stuff, patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. You don't actually have to pay anymore. There is a free tier. Granted, you only get the informational stuff sent to your email. But if you want to brew with us and all that, I promise you, even at the every month level for $50 for a 5-gallon recipe kit, you are not going to find that these days in 2024 at any retail site where you get premium ingredients, including liquid yeast. You're getting shipping included, and it's just a premium kit for $50 every month. You're not going to get that. I can almost guarantee that. But anyways, patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. And I think that's all the small talk. Let me look at the clock. That was pretty quick. Quicker than normal for me. I could have jugged it out a little. I mean, I still could if you'd like to, boss. I could jug this.
No.
Okay.
Let's go ahead.
With that being said, we've got 3 questions. And the first question, our buddy Hannes from Germany, but he also sort of left feedback before his question. So with that being said,
it's time for listener feedback.
And a question.
It is our buddy Hannes from Germany, and his feedback, I forgot what his feedback was. I put with some Hannes from Germany with some feedback as a pedantic German.
Hi guys, this is Hannes from Germany, and I really want to say that this is by far my favorite podcast, even though as a German I'm called pedantic multiple times, and I wanted to complain about that, but on the other hand, I'm calling in to make you aware of a mistake in your spelling. So yeah, that's that. And no, it's not about Trop Club. I'm totally for Trop Club because Trop Club just sounds bad. What I mean is every time you say Rauschbier, it's just wrong, because Rausch is like a state of inebriation, like compared to taking strong drugs. And Rauch is smoke. And it might not sound like a big difference to American ears, but as a German, whether you make that sound in the back of your throat or at the front of your mouth, it does make a big difference. So, this is pedantic German voicemail. On the other hand, I do have a question for you. And that is, I was wondering, is it ever a bad idea to make a starter? Because I came across conflicting informations on the internet and in magazines, and it seems that sometimes, for whatever reason, it's not beneficial to make a starter, but I'm not really able to make rhyme or reason about that. So, looking forward for your feedback. Thanks, guys.
I want to say a few things. I want to say a lot of things. You can be a pedantic German when your English is that good and our German is that bad.
Right? His English is exceptional. I mean,
it's better than my English.
I would believe he was from the United States. I thought he was just from California.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But the second thing I want to say.
And the second thing is that yours can be the third thing. The second thing is that he knows what pedantic means, which I never knew. It's like your favorite word now, Josh.
I love it. Yeah.
I didn't even know what it meant the first time you used it.
Yeah, well, it wasn't me. It was another German who called in and said, not to be pedantic, Josh. And then I was like, okay, Germans are pedantic.
I wonder if pedantic is if there's a real similar word in German.
They'll correct you if there is. In Deutsch. So the third thing then, how does he know how we're trying to say Rausch? I mean it as inebriation from drugs. I don't know about you guys. But
me too.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying.
That's the kind of beer we're brewing. We're brewing Rausch. We're not Rausch. How do you say it? Rausch. I can't do it. What was the other one that you got corrected on all the time, James? There was some when was it CM that or I mean
just pick any German word that James.
I know, but I thought there was one. I thought there was a beer style or something where James was like saying it the right way. But that you're right, Todd. That is every word when we're with.
No, that was Horst correcting me on the way I say.
Matzen. That's what it was. That's what it was. It just and at one point,
Matzen.
Yes, and at one point you were saying it the exact way he was, and he was like, "No, James, it's mine." I was just dying. That was the best. It was like, we can't win over Germans. This is why I am half German. I'm half Mexican, and I normally claim the Hispanic the most because it benefits me in this country. But also, you've never seen a Mexican correct you, have you, Todd? When we conjugate inappropriately, they're like, like if I talk to Vilver and I say like, could you please make me a regulator? But literally I'm saying make regulator, or like, can you make you the like, I'm saying it totally wrong.
Are you talking about the direct translation from Spanish to English?
Well, I mean,
everything. It's like Yoda speak. Yeah. I don't understand how they structure their sentences.
And I also though I conjugate wrong. I don't instead of talking in the third like to him as you
and use the wrong tense. Too.
I use the wrong tense.
We both do,
yes, I use the wrong.
And nobody ever corrects you.
Ever.
You can say like you can say like, I've been here now.
Yeah.
And they're like, that sounds great.
Yeah.
You know?
I waking up this morning.
Google it though.
Pedantic?
Pedantic is almost exactly the same in German. That's why it must be a word that's used more in German than it is in English. It's pedantisch. Pedantisch.
I don't think it is. We're gonna have some Germans leaving voicemail, and it's time. It's time for German feedback. Okay, but all that aside, Hannes did have a question, and I'm going to throw it to you, James, because I think of the three of us, you're the only one who's ever you've harvested. I actually don't know if you've ever made a starter.
I've done both. I've harvested and I've done starters.
Was the starter because you were doing a lager and that's tradition? And is there ever a style that you would go, like, is it ever inappropriate or just completely unnecessary to do a starter with any given style of beer?
I don't know. Starter is just building bigger numbers of the yeast when you pitch it. Some people would say that, in certain styles, they want a smaller number of yeast cells because they want to stress the yeast to create a certain flavor. So that's the only thing I could think of when it would be bad for a starter. But I think that's a style of IPA that I would never brew. So it's never been anything it's never been in my wheelhouse. But I believe that's I read an article and it was about starters and that and underpitch and overpitching yeast cell numbers. And there's a certain style, and I don't know what it is, but they actually purposely underpitch the yeast number so they can stress the yeast and get a certain type of flavor from the yeast for the beer. But
interesting. And I guarantee you we'll have feedback on that. If you're watching at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, it helps the algorithm a lot when you comment there. If you're listening to us, that's great. Leave us a review wherever you listen at. That also helps us a lot. Like if you're on Apple Podcasts, whatever. But that style, I'd love to know.
Another thing too is it's always a good idea if you're doing a starter just to see how viable the yeast is, especially if you're kind of questioning the age of it. And I'm talking liquid. You could also do that with dry, but I don't think I've ever done a starter with a dry. I think I had somebody comment that it's not advisable to do starters with dry yeast, but I have done it before, I think. We use Imperial yeast, and they have really good cell numbers. There's no reason to do a starter.
You beat me to it. You beat me. That was going to be my infomercial of the day. Well, no, there's plenty more opportunity. But I was going to say, call me spoiled. I acknowledge that. Since we've been on board with Imperial, and it's like been a good 10 years of using their product, maybe 8. I mean, we haven't always been sponsored by them, but we were talking about their products well before they sponsored the show. Their pouches are just so jam-packed with yeast. I think I say that in the commercial at the top of the show, that we haven't had to do starters. I think since my dad and I have been brewing together since 2017, we had one stalled batch. I don't remember if we even used Imperial, but that's the only time I've had to sprinkle some 05 and it got the stuff going. But I've never done a starter. Todd, I'll throw it to you now because I genuinely don't know. I don't remember. Have you ever made a starter? Would you ever make a starter? And is there a time you'd think that you wouldn't make a starter because of the style you're brewing?
The only reason I would make a starter personally is if the yeast was starting to get a little old and I just want to build it back up again. So, I mean, I've made a starter, but just one time, and it was just because the yeast was at the very end of its date.
Well,
so,
and remember when we had Owen?
I don't remember what it was. James and I were.
No, I'm saying, remember when we had Owen
several years ago?
When Owen was on, and I don't do my homework. I have to go watch the live stream or find my notes. I forgot. I was surprised when he said that how long the viability is. And it was like, oh, even after 6 months, it only loses 20%. I'm making that number up, but it was.
I don't think that's right.
Was it 3 months that it loses 20%?
Yeah, at 6 months, it's going to lose a lot.
Okay, we got to go back.
Yeah.
I say we. Yeah, Todd, you and I need to go back.
Don't believe a word he says out there.
They don't.
Don't believe a word he says when he says it uses 20%.
No. I literally right after it said I'm making that number up. Maybe it was 3 months, but I just remember whatever the amount of time was and whatever that percentage was, still being impressed. Like, oh wow, that's not as much as I would have thought it would have lost. But like you said, if your pouch. We're only getting yeast now for these kits. So we get the freshest of fresh every month to ship it out. But we have some left over because I always over order by 3 or 4 because we have people coming and going through the Trub Club all the time. And so whenever we get the extras and they start to age, but you're like, hey, I want to brew something. Oh, I have a bag of flagship that's 5 months old. Then you might create a starter. Is that the scenario we're talking about? Okay. That's what I thought too.
So here's somebody that asked them, and they said I don't negative 90% for 6 months. I don't understand. Why didn't they just say it loses 90%?
No, I will find the episode at some point, but I won't. Here's what I'm relying on. Our audience is so good at calling me out. I get y'all's private messages and emails. They will say in the comments below at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, Josh, you idiot. He said it loses 50% at 3 months or whatever it was. Again, making stuff up. That could be the title of my memoir, but that's what I'm doing right now and soliciting that. Hannes, thank you so much for the feedback and the voicemail question. A reminder to you guys, if and when you call our hotline at 325-305-6107 and leave a voicemail, question preferred, and I use it on a future episode, you get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. You could text that line or email joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com. And if I use that question on a future episode, you still get yourself a $15 gift card, which I think is pretty good. Like our second question of the show, a text message from our buddy Nick, and he wrote, "Hi Josh, I do not want to hear my own voice on a podcast, but I do have a question. I just bought a Grainfather. I'm ready to brew my first beer on this bad boy. My wife was on board with the purchase, this because I told her I could also make ciders, kombucha, even cold brew coffee in this for her. This is where my question comes. Can I actually make these things, specifically cold brew coffee, in a grain father? I told her to let me break in my system with a few batches of beer first, so that has bought me some time to figure this out if I made poor promises. Nick, that's a great question. Yes, you can do kombucha for sure. I know that. I've never done it in the G40 because that's just way too much kombucha, but it's a kettle. It's a big giant tea kettle. You can definitely do the hot side of stuff. Todd, I'm totally a stranger to cold brew except for this kind of tower system we've been working on as CM Becker and through the retail side, Keg Connection. I don't see why you couldn't use the grain father or any all-in-one with the basket in the same way you would make it with like one of those cold brew avenue kettles that have, you know, a false bottom and stuff. Do you see what would you need to do to be comfortable making cold brew coffee in an all-in-one, or even like your
you and James use an all-in-one all the time. I never use one.
Oh, well, I just meant, but you would know better than I would. But during the, okay, well, I'll come back to you. James has never made cold brew. That's why I was throwing it. Or have you, James?
Well, I mean, it's just making coffee is really,
without heat.
But it's cold brew. I mean,
but I'm saying, so look, the basket and an all-in-one. Here, I'm talking to James now. Yeah. Don't give me that look. I'm talking to James. The basket and an all-in-one doesn't prevent all the grains from going through, but it does a pretty good job, right? Of keeping them separate from the element and from the wort that you're going to eventually put into your kettle. Do you think coffee grinds, being as small as they are, would pose a bigger problem? Start clogging your pump. You'd have
to bag them somehow. But on cold brew, you wouldn't even use the element. You would just
right. I meant clogging the pump. I'd be worried about clogging the pump when it comes time to transfer. Yeah. But you're right. A bag would solve that. That would probably that is actually probably the answer. Is yes, you can do it. You do, because this is why I threw it to you first, Todd. The process of cold brewing, I know it doesn't involve heat, but it is just basically steeping grounds in water overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was a great answer. I just didn't know.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay, so there is no reason why he couldn't do this in there and then pump it out in the morning. The coffee.
I don't know. Is it a pretty fine basket in there? I don't know.
No, it's not fine at all.
No, it's not.
It wouldn't hold any coffee.
So you'd probably have to use like a real fine bag or something in there if you're going to do it.
Well, we're waiting on another tower from Hubertus, but you have the kegerator at the office that we have installed in a coffee shop because we're going through this project, this nitro fusion thing. It's very exciting. I'm shooting footage of it at this coffee shop for CM Becker. We'll obviously use it when we're trying to sell it on Keg Connection too. It's more of a commercial thing. So don't get sticker shock, friends at home listening or watching this, when you see this product inevitably launch and you go, whoa, it's not actually that expensive, but it's not a consumer product per se. But either way, Todd, you made the cold brew for our videos, the initial videos we did in the office. I thought I remembered you using a bag. That's why I threw this question to you first. It
was like a paint strainer.
Okay, but that worked.
It's pretty much the same thing that we used to sell for people that used a strainer. You know, it's a nylon, you know what I'm talking about, James.
Like a hop bag?
You know, those really fine nylon, like a lot of times with the hops, we use I don't know what that other material
muslin.
Is, this is like a muslin, but this is like it's more like a nylon ones, those big ones that we used to sell.
Yeah, they call them a reusable hop bag, and they're actually made out of plastic, plastic fibers versus the organic fibers like the muslin bags.
And the only reason I knew to use a paint strainer is that's what I brewed with for 20 years. So
that's hilarious. Now, here's something to think about though, Nick. And if you're going to do cold brew coffee, you don't want to use CO2 on that machine, on that keg. Well, isn't that going to make it incredibly bitter?
Yeah, you got to use nitrogen, pure nitrogen, not beer gas.
Right. So that if you're trying to get out of appeasing your wife, which I've never done that ever, but if this was me in this situation, I'd say, babe, either spin it to get yourself some more gear. I have to get the nitro cylinder, honey, because you don't want this extremely disgusting, bitter cold brew. We have to get a nitrogen cylinder, and I have to get this nice V3N from CM Becker to put on the other tower. I just have to do it, babe. This is what we're doing. Otherwise, you're going to...
Well, for her.
Yeah, for her. Of course it's for her. But you could also use
it's
that.
Not for him.
But you could of course it's not. But it'd be great then come in the winter when you drink that breakfast stout on nitro out of your awesome nitrogen stout faucet. Like it would, it could be a win-win here, Nick. Now with the cold brew out of the way, sort of, this is going to get more feedback. I know. The kombucha is obvious that you can make it. The cider is pretty obvious you can make it. But even then, I don't know anyone who does cider like from scratch. That's almost a cold process only as well, isn't it? Or people boiling. I know, right? I know. Me neither.
I've never I've only made it once, and I didn't boil.
I was going to say you did the kit one that was going out of it was expiring or something.
Yeah, and it's a kit, but I don't even know why they made a kit because all it was apple juice. So
yeah, but where I was going with this is there anything, James, and you brewed on that Grainfather a lot of batches before the Brautag was even. It was just a sparkle in Todd's eye. Is there any kind of beverage you think of that you would not do on an all-in-one because it's going to ruin your element, or it's going to clog your pump, or it's going to be like hot chocolate, or is there anything you could think of like I would absolutely never do that on this because of whatever reason?
Nothing comes to mind that I drink.
I
definitely wouldn't do hot chocolate.
Wait.
What he just said was he was talking about beer.
Yeah.
Yes. Because he said what I would drink.
I don't know why anybody would do a hot chocolate.
Hey, listen to me. Hear me out. I did sneak the hot chocolate in because I was gonna hear you go. Yeah, I guess you could do that. I this last Christmas I told my dad, hey, I wanted to either do a big batch of hot chocolate for the kids, or what's that drink Glühwein, the stuff in Nuremberg that they put you brought me the cup back. I don't know if I don't know if James actually drank it, but he brought me a cup back. That could be done in the all-in-one, right? Like I could throw in all those spices because to me the all-in-one it is just a giant kettle with an
it's a kettle. Anything you can do with a kettle you can do with that,
right? That's my ultimate point. Was I think people can experiment with there's nothing I'd say that you're going to consume a potable beverage.
We should have people tell us that listen if they've made other things and they're all in one. At least live some feedback of what you might have made.
And there is probably likely some subreddit that I haven't discovered yet called, alternative all-in-ones or something. I don't know. There's a subreddit for everything. But yeah, that would be great feedback to hear from people. Again, I'm probably not, if it's a voicemail, if it's really good, I might play it. But if you're watching this, leave it in the comments at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. Smash that like button, subscribe, all that stuff. It really does help us as we're trying to grow this channel. As in people watching on YouTube. The vast majority of you do not watch us on YouTube, which I get. Look at us. My rosace's just kind of flared up. Anyway, I think that about covers it for Nick. But I'll say some words of wisdom that somebody told me once. Happy wife, happy life. So I would do what it would take to appease your wife, Nick.
My nephew, when he was probably about 12, I don't remember what my dad asked him, but he just looked at my dad, which would be his great uncle, I guess, and said, when mom's happy, everybody's happy.
My kids would agree with that. My kids would absolutely. There are things I've bought. I bought just recently really not reliable cookware. And I say not reliable. I think the stuff that they advertise to women, the non-stick stuff that's real pretty, is not the best cookware. That's why this whole set's $100. I was like, babe, I'm going to get us some real good. This would be a $500 set, stainless steel, this and that. But it's not pretty. And I was like, okay, well, I got her the pretty, but stuff we're going to end up replacing in 24 months, guarantee it, for 120 or whatever it ended up being. But because again, My happy wife, happy life. Nick, thank you for submitting that question. Final reminder as we go into the third question, if you text or email, you get yourself a $15 gift card to catconnection.com. But even better, if you call 325-305-6107 and I use your voicemail question on a future episode, get yourself a $25 gift card like our third and final question. It's a very international voicemail day today. It's our buddy Tim from Australia.
Hey guys, Tim here from Wollongong, Australia. I have a two-part question about liquid yeast. I've been brewing for a few years now and always been using dry yeast so far, which has worked out well. But now Lulleman have stopped making their Kolsch strain, I'm thinking about giving liquid yeast a go. Only issue I have is for me, it will be about a 3 to 4 day turnaround to arrive in the post. So question one is, how would the yeast survive being that long in the post without a problem? And question two is, with the price of yeast, express postage will be around $40 all up. Is it possible to make a big starter and save some of it for a future brewer? If I could get about 3 or 4 batches out of one pouch would be great. Make the day a bit cheaper. Anyway, guys, love the show. And Josh, thanks for getting us into Kolsch, mate. The best.
The best. It is the best. You're welcome, Tim. First off, what a bummer. Lalaman. I mean, obviously, my favorite strain of all time, Imperial, their Dieter. That's my favorite Kolsch strain of all time. When we have Jonathan on a future episode to talk about his recipe, I would be curious to know what he used. But Lalaman, I feel like they just released that Kolsch strain like not that long ago.
Yeah, a few years ago. But I did actually talk to the guy about it at the Brow. It's interesting you brought that up.
Tell us.
I went by there and I was like, I've got a question for you. I've been using that Kolsch strain. And I used it a few times. I said the first time it said I needed to patch 6 package, some unbelievable amount. And I was like, the thing just went crazy. So I'm thinking that maybe y'all's instructions, and I've emailed y'all a couple times, but nobody's gotten back to me. So I wanted to ask you, I think maybe your instructions are wrong on that. And he just looked at me and goes, it doesn't matter. We just discontinued it. So
you're all long-winded. He's like, well, you know what? The solution was it the mustache guy? I always forget his name.
I don't remember now which guy, if he had a mustache or not.
You don't remember at all the homebrew cons at whatever booth they would be at. It was always that dude. He had a killer mustache. I would kill for that mustache. But anyway, but you say a few years. I'm going to take the under. I'll make a $5 bet. It's less than 3 years that they released that Kolsch strain.
Okay, I'll take the bet.
In the consumer market, less than 3 years ago. So you're saying it came out 2020 or earlier, because I'm taking the under on 3 years, which would be 2021 to present.
Right. I'll take that bet.
Okay. Handshake, virtual handshake.
Virtual handshake.
All right.
I'll look it up right now.
Do it while I'm going to continue the question, because James is, to me, more of a yeast expert on this panel than anybody. But you are certainly a logistics expert, my friend, with shipping. Yeah. So when we were in the game, and even now, as we ship out Trub Club recipes for people at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, I always do an ice pack. And I think the longest it takes to get to someone's house is 4 business days. Let's just say 5. Sometimes it takes 5 full days to get to a member's house. In the hot months, I would have to do 2 ice packs to some people who live further away, because sometimes when I've only done 1, it still arrives and it's usable, but it is like it bloated to hell. And people who don't know any better get worried because they're like, because it's not supposed to look like that, right? It's just that hot in a truck and that long. But some of the members there will do a starter and they're like, oh, it's perfectly fine. Okay, thank God. Phew, because there's that many cells in it. Todd's grinning. I owe him $5. I hate this.
2019.
Son of a gun! Why am I
May 29th, 2000.
Why am I so confident?
That's when it came out?
Yep. Doesn't it feel like it just came out, James?
That was just the other day.
Thank you. See, you know what? It was James and I sort of subtly agreeing on, it feels like it was yesterday. That made me confident. I'll Venmo you, boss. Anyway.
All right, I'll look for my account. I'll look at my account. I'll watch it.
No, I'm not doing it right now. We got questions to do. But James, so the shipping, if he's buying it, would you agree with this premise that any retailer worth their weight would at least include an option, if not just a complimentary bag of or a pack of ice to go with liquid yeast that they ship out?
Well, a lot of when I was buying liquid yeast before I started working for Todd, I had to pay extra for a cold pack.
But you would every time, right? Yeah,
they weren't offered unless you requested and you had to pay for it. So I've believe it or not, Becker has quite a few customers in Australia and New Zealand. So we ship pretty frequently to that area. And it's one of the longer trips as far as a package can make. But I think FedEx will get there. If you do express, you can get there 5 to 7 days. So what I would suggest is possibly if you need something, order it from Keg Connection, give us a heads up, and maybe we can do a FedEx Express shipment and include the yeast in it with it.
Yeah, I don't know what he was referring to, but he said something about a 4-day shipment.
I'm assuming. So I could Tim
don't know what that is.
He'll text me. I say that Tim, as I was texting you before recording about, hey, I'm using your thing. It gave me an error, so you can email me or send another voicemail or WhatsApp.
I was thinking the same thing you were, James. That we could put it. And we could extra install.
But hear me out, guys. I'm taking some liberty with injecting things that might not be there. I think there's retailers in Australia selling Imperial now. Or are y'all on the premise that he can't get it in his country, but he wants to try?
I'm guessing that he probably can't get it, or they're not stocking that Kolsch Imperial yeast strain. Yeah. It didn't really matter. It can be
any liquid. No, you're right. He didn't say Imperial.
And Yeast has a Kolsch. I think Omega has one. Cellar Science has a dry Kolsch yeast, but you got to buy a whole bag of it. It's $100.
But you're right. He didn't say Imperial. But let's say he does have a retailer, but to him, he knows it's going to be a few days. We're agreeing that the retailer offers an ice pack every time, get an ice pack, because that's going to save the integrity of your liquid yeast in post.
Yeah. And he can save it. You just need to, what I would do is I would just do like a neutral batch. I would call it a grow batch. And then you can even get some of those mason jars and, sanitize them and then grow the yeast and then put them in mason jars, put a date on it. And I think Imperial guarantees their yeast, 4 months?
I remember I was speaking out of turn earlier, but yes, 4 months.
Okay. So what he could do is he could actually grow the yeast enough to do, 4 or 5 batches, just get the small little, I know Ball sells those canning jars in Australia. That's what I would do.
Well, and you're also no stranger to harvesting. Would that also prolong, or how about this? You did that one Kolsch for 5 generations of the literal yeast
5
cake.
direct pour, and that wasn't something that we would recommend now. I just did it because I wanted to see if we can do it because of mutations and all that. But there's some really good videos on YouTube about how to wash yeast. So what I mean by a neutral batch, so you're not running any hops. You're just the only purpose is to grow the yeast into higher net cell numbers. So then you would just need some liquid or dry malt extract and water and let the stuff ferment until it grows and builds in numbers. And then it's just a big propagation on what you have. And then you could store those in glass jars, date them, and put them in your fridge. And you should be good to go for 4 months. And at the end of that, then you can take some and do that again and grow it and wash the yeast. And you could always, technically with yeast, you could keep growing it and propagating it forever. I mean, all the big breweries, they have their proprietary yeast, and they sit there and grow from that one strain new batches or new numbers.
And I think your mason jar idea is probably the most practical in regards to starting the initial grow batch. I like that. We're gonna trademark that. We've already did. Nobody go online. I've already trademarked it. It's a grow batch. But could we use that in the cannabis industry? We use that everywhere. Anyways, the grow batch, put it into mason jars in the fridge. But again, I only mentioned your idea. It's not like this universal, yeah, just keep pitching on the same thing. But if he's trying to get 3 or 4 out of one, and he is doing the same style, because he was talking about Kolsch. He's a Kolsch head. We exist out there. He could do what you did, because it wasn't until the 5th generation, and you're your biggest critic. You were like, I can tell it's not as good. I'm not going to do it any more generations. That 5th batch was still really good, dude. It was actually, all those Kolsches you were doing at that time were killer. Every batch, just one after another. And you literally didn't do anything but pour the next wort on top of the existing cake.
That's all I did. I was just basically growing. It got to the point where the yeast was at the pickup tube. So it is possible. Now, a lot of it was dormant and it wasn't active, but you know, you can run into issues if you overpitch yeast numbers, viable yeast numbers, because it goes to town too quick. Sometimes it can get so active that it can actually kill itself. If you go to Imperial Yeast, they have a FAQ section and it's all about yeast. It's a great resource. Go over and check it out, and you'll see. I know I'm butchering it, but they've got what happens when you under and what happens when you overpitch. And they also talk about propagation and starters. Imperial Yeast has a great website.
And like you said, too, propagating yeast is what most craft breweries, whether they're macro or micro, are doing, because yeast is one of the more expensive components of a brew day.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's not,
but they also have the big 3. They all have their own yeast section where it's a lab, and they're keeping that proprietary strain of yeast true to the way it was, because yeast can mutate and change into something else and create different flavors or different esters. So they work real hard to keep that strain true and original, and it takes a lot of effort. So.
And they filter their beer so much.
A little bit of that at Imperial. It was kind of impressive.
It was real cool. And correct me if I'm wrong. Don't they filter it completely out? Like, I cannot propagate from, if I wanted to, go get a Budweiser, and there's no yeast in it, right? It is completely filtered.
They have very, very intricate, sophisticated filters, and they'll filter it out. And some of the bottle conditioned beers by the big corporate breweries, they're just using a regular generic yeast. They're not using their beer yeast. They're using just something to carbonate the product without giving it any flavor.
And even on a small level, I remember when you reached out to the brewer at Schlussel, and they were very open about the recipe. They gave you the whole breakdown, but you're not going to get your hands on their yeast. Like, that was the secret sauce.
He was very adamant about the yeast is off limits. So,
which made sense, right?
I totally understand that. If that creates that product, then I completely understand it, because it's a damn good beer.
Yeah. All right. Now, the last part, Todd, for your input, for sending out things like liquid yeast, obviously 1 ice pack. Would you say there's a rule of thumb you'd follow? Like, if it's going to be because Australia, I bet overall is hotter than the United States, or I guess maybe Texas. Maybe
depends on the time of year, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're probably relatable climates where we're at in Texas and where he's at. I don't know Wollongong. Sorry for butchering that, Tim. But is there a rule of thumb? Because when we were selling recipe kits, we gave the first ice pack complimentary when they bought liquid yeast. But in the summer, we had a very bold message that said, hey, you really should buy this extra 99-cent ice pack just to make sure your yeast arrives good, because that's double the power of ice.
Yeah. I just sent you 2 yeast packs today, and I wrapped them in a big, I sandwiched, they were the bread of the sandwich, and I put a really big ice pack in the middle, and then I bubble wrapped it, and then I put insulation around it.
So. Dang, you're taking care of me. Yeah, it was my fault. Viewers at home, I Brew Day Live is Friday, but I didn't have a recipe because I forgot to bring it back from Kolsch Cup. We were busy drinking Kolsch and awarding winners and all that, but Todd was gracious enough to make.
Hey, what's my time and shipping costs, though, huh?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. But would you say there is a rule of, like, you did that for me because you wanted the yeast to arrive absolutely pristine? If
I knew the amount of whining that would go on.
That too.
It just wasn't worth it. So
but
I made sure.
If you were, you and I would agree, if we're shipping from Comanche to anywhere in Texas, one ice pack is going to be good even in the summer.
It's one day.
Because it's one day.
You'll get that tomorrow. So yeah.
But what is it that you would say? Yeah, upgrade to 2 ice packs. Like anything beyond 2 travel days, 3. I mean, I know it's arbitrary, but like, throw me a bone here for the hypothetical. Like,
I mean, my problem with it is I don't know the 2 ice packs. I don't know if they would really melt slower than 1 ice pack.
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
if you
good point. I
put them together. I don't know. I mean, you'd have to experiment with that.
No, that you're right. What would be better? Yeah, if
really, I think the most important thing is it wouldn't hurt to have. I think 2 would last longer if you did a really, really good job of insulating.
Yeah, and we ship, like I mentioned earlier, I ship a lot of stuff via FedEx to Australia and New Zealand, and it's 5 to 7 days express priority, not economy. Economy can be 10 to 15 days.
Ooh.
So they're in autumn right now, so their fall season is right now, and their winter kicks in June. So they're exactly opposite of us because they're on the south side of the South Pole, and we're northern.
It's easier, James, just backwards. To say that they're down under.
Down under, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Down under. They are down. When we have British people on or whatever, I butcher their accent. I'm not going to do that to y'all today, Australians. We actually have a fantastic following down there. I don't want to piss them off. So thank you for tuning in. But Tim, that is a great question. And like James said, if you can't get it there, hit us up. We might be able to work something out because that's why I threw it to you first. James is the logistics man when it comes to shipping. This is the poor guy. This is what you do. Like in regards to international logistics.
I shipped 2 Mickey Thompson ET drag slicks and some chill plates to New Zealand, and it got there in 5 days.
I told Todd, or actually it was Todd's idea. I'm not going to take credit for this. You got to go to New Zealand sometime. There's such good customers there. Just jump in the package. The boxes are already big enough. We'll just get you. It should be cheaper.
Well, Stefan, I keep putting the bug in his ear.
Coat.
Yeah, packet coat.
You're going to want to wear a big coat for underneath for the bottom of the airplane.
Yeah, for the bottom. Yeah, James is durable.
It's the storage compartment.
He's a durable guy. Anyways, Tim, thank you for the question. Guys, that does it for this episode. A lot of potential for feedback, whether through voicemail at 325-305-6107, or if you're watching us at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. Leave it in the comments there. Like I say, time and time again, it really does help the algorithm. And we're trying to grow it. We have content that is not long form like this coming out frequently. And then the Brew Day Lives, which is long form, but it's live. We're trying. But anyways, thank you all for your time, guys. Todd, I'll see you Saturday night because we're flying out Sunday. So thank you guys for your time. Yeah, so I know not enough hours in the week, but I appreciate y'all's time and I'll see y'all soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submitted question link at the top of the page, or even better, call it, leave us a voicemail at 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsors like Muntons Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Muntons, give them a try by joining our Trub Club at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of premium imperial yeast along with premium recipes from us when you join the Trub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.